Good afternoon. I am Mary O'Grady Jones. I teach fifth grade. Our students are 10 and 11 years old at Sunset Park Center for Accelerated Studies. The students that I work with are considered gifted and talented. That means they have high academic scores, high artistic abilities, high abilities in general. I'm coming today to talk to you about games and game design in teaching and learning. A lot of the T fellows who met me several years ago knew that I wanted to go back and get my doctorate, and so I've finally done that, and I started that journey a couple of years ago, and my research is on game and game design, involving technology. I'm going to do a low-tech presentation today. The game that I'm going to share with you is a tabletop game and not a technology game, but I've got my reasons for that. But speaking of my doctorate, my professor said I needed to get a picture with our flag. This is the University of South Carolina, and go Gamecocks. So I had to show that off. I had to get some pictures to share back with my my cohort students. So, all right. So why games? Why game design? I love games. I've always loved games and puzzles. My husband would tell you it's because I'm highly competitive. I don't like to lose, so I get into games very deeply. But I've learned a lot about games as time has gone on. I have my students build their own board games based around stories that we read or science concepts or social studies concepts. I have them build board games, and the students enjoy the experience, and that's a highlight project for our year. I was teaching in China in 2013, and I was working with a group of teachers, and I presented this idea of board games. And they all looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. And they told me, no, we don't do this in China. No, our students don't want to play games. Our students want to learn. And we negotiated this out, and I finally got them to accept the idea of board games. I'm like, let's just try it. And so they broke into groups, and they built some games. The teachers built some games. I couldn't get them to stop. They loved the experience. Games are so engaging, and kids love them, and when adults kind of let go and enjoy that sense of fun, they enjoy them too. One of the things that brought me to the interest in games and what games can do, in South Carolina, we have our profile of the South Carolina graduate. And if you take a look at some of the things that are up here, I'm sure that these are some of the things that you are concerned about with your students as well. Some of the things that I take into consideration are creativity and innovation. How do you teach creativity and innovation? Critical thinking and problem solving. Collaboration and teamwork. Those are highly important skills for our students. And yet in education, we teach our kids to compete against one another and not to work together. So the game that I'm going to share with you today is a collaborative game. My nephew, who is also incredibly competitive, says it's not really a game, it's more like a collaborative puzzle, but we'll get to that later. So these are some of the reasons I look at games and gaming in my classroom. Games allow students to practice skills. Games build perseverance and resilience. Games don't count against their grades. My kids are very concerned about their grades. Games can teach content as well as those 21st century skills, and games bring a sense of fun and play into the classroom. So let's take a look at Forbidden Island. In Forbidden Island, your team of adventurers must work together. That's the important part. They have to work together to keep Forbidden Island from sinking in order to buy enough time to capture its 4 treasures. Once you've captured them, you must make it to Fool's Landing and escape by helicopter to win. If, however, the island sinks before you can complete your task, the mission ends in defeat and the entire team loses. So these are some pictures of my kids playing Forbidden Island. I always start out our first day of the school year where they were getting to know each other. I put this out there, and they begin to play together and talk together. This is what they had to say after the experience. In a short time of playing a game, These are the things that my students said were going to be important for their success in the future and in the coming school year. There's some great things there coming out of fifth graders. So I've been told that we've got some students here who wanted to come up to the stage and help me with demonstrating the game. So I've got some games, and so if those students would like to come on up, I'd like to welcome them. Do we have any students who want to come up? Yes. Okay. If you want to come play a game, I brought the game with me. I might need some more. All right. So the game is there, and I'm going to let you, it's right there, so if you all want to sit down, and I'm going to go through the directions of how to set it up, and you can set it up, and I'll give you the how to play, okay?
Hello.
Oh. All right. Okay. Okay, we're going to start by opening up the square cards that are in the rubber bands. Yep. And you need to lay those out in a 4x4 square. The colorful side needs to be up. There you go. It doesn't matter what order they're in, just 4x4 square. The game changes every time you play. Okay, and then you need to put 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom of your 4x4 square, and 2 on each side. All right. Let's see. Okay, you got it. Good. All right. You guys might want to start opening up the other pieces. Okay. So that is what they've laid out. They've laid out their board game, and it's that pattern there. Now, the game does change every single time you play because you shuffle the cards, and so every time it's a new adventure. So the next thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to take the 4 treasure pieces, and if you notice, they can go on any of these squares. So you've got to pick 1 square for each of the treasure pieces. So you'll notice they have the spot here. So you pick one of those places. Yes. All right. So the lion can go here or right here. You can decide. All right, awesome. You got it? Okay, so remember their objective was to get the 4 treasure pieces. So they have placed those on the board and they're ready to go. So we've got our playing cards that are part of this. We've got a flood deck because remember our island is going to start to flood. You've got your treasure deck and you've got your adventurer cards. So if you guys want to go ahead and separate those out. Just separate them out. Yep. All right. I'm going to take these. All right. I'll get you those in a minute. Okay. So they're laying those pieces out, and so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to shuffle the flood deck and place it face down on one side of the island to form the flood draw pile. This is where your island starts to sink and you haven't even started playing yet. So from the flood pile, the blue ones, so flip one over. Okay, and that piece, you find the corresponding piece here, and you flip it over because it has flooded. Okay, and if you'll notice that the normal side is bright and colorful, the flooded side is that blue. Now our adventurers, oh, hang on, go back. You need to do that with 6 of those cards. I'll tell you, I'll get you there in a minute. If you shuffle those up, can you shuffle those? Mix them? Those cards? Yes. Yeah. And the ones he has too. Yeah. Mix those all up. Okay. So we're going to talk about our adventurers. We've got 5 brave adventurers today, and I've got 6 cards. So I'm going to have them each choose. There's a little pawn of different colors, so if you each choose a pawn of the different colors, you can put those on the board. So each of them was going to take a role of an adventurer, and they have special powers depending on what their role they take. The thing you're going to find out is it's going to be easier if you work together. So does everybody have a pawn? Okay, does somebody have blue? You are the pilot. All right. Does somebody have yellow? You are the navigator. Does somebody have gray? Okay. Oh, okay. You are the messenger. How about green? Oh, you can only have one. All right. Which do you want to be, the explorer or the messenger or the navigator? Okay. That's part of the game. You don't always have all of the players. All right. Red, you are the engineer. And black, you are the diver. Okay. So then you've chosen their role, and we're going to talk a little bit about their special powers that they have. The pilot, you can fly to any tile once per turn. So when it's your turn, you can fly anywhere on the board. The explorer, we don't have an explorer this time around, but can move and shore up diagonally. What that means by shoring up is if a piece of the island is flooding, they can flip the card back over and save that piece of the island. The messenger can give cards to any player, even in different location. The navigator can move other players 2 spaces for 1 action. The engineer can shore up 2 adjacent tiles for 1 action, and the diver can move through any number of submerged or flooded tiles. All right, so now we've got just a basic overview. So in playing this game, they would shuffle the deck and place them face down. And what they're trying to do is beat the water rise level. They're trying to prevent the island from flooding before they can capture all of the treasures. So we're going to let the games begin. Yes. Yes. Okay. So at any turn, any of the players can take 3 actions. They can draw 2. They have to draw 2 treasure decks, and they have to draw a flood card. So the first thing that you need to know is that when it's your turn, you can you have these actions you can do. You can move, and it has the details are on the back of each of your cards. They can shore up, which means they can save a piece of the island, and anybody can do that. They can pass each other treasure cards. Now this is how, wait. This is how we get to capturing the treasures. That from the deck, they have to collect 4 treasure cards in order to win, to be able to grab the treasure. There are 5 of each card, but they have to work together to share those cards. And you can only share a card when it's your turn. So that's where it gets tricky. So going back, they can move, shore up, give away a treasure card. They're trying to collect those treasures. So after they've done that, they draw 2 treasure deck cards. And that's where they start collecting the treasure cards. They have to draw those one at a time. But sneakily, unfortunately, in there are some water rise cards that starts to flood your island again. If you draw a water rise card, you do not add that to your hand. You have to flip the card over, or you have to change the water level. You can give treasure cards to other players using the given treasure card. Sorry. All right. So water rise cards look like that, and pretty soon you notice that this scale. We're going to start the scale at 1, but it goes up and up and up, and all of a sudden you've got lots of tiles that are going underwater. There's also specific action cards. There are 3 helicopter cards that any player can use if they draw it, and there are sandbag cards that are an extra way of shoring up some parts of the island. So if you all want to start, yep, look at it. All right. So at the end of the turn, that everybody they have to draw flood cards that match the level on their thing. Okay, we're going to just talk real quick about winning the game and getting to Fool's Landing. Once the crew has gathered all of the things, and it doesn't matter, it's interesting can I have one of the treasures? Just hand me one of the treasures, the little figurines. So my kids open this up and they all go, oh, I'm going to capture that one. And it's all I'm going to get that one, I'm going to get that one, until they realize that they all have to work together, because if they don't work together, they're going to end up losing. So winning the game, it means that they collect all of the treasures, but then they all have to get to Fool's Landing to escape by helicopter. So they have to work together to move each other and get each other. There's a lot of coordination, a lot of strategy going on, where they're thinking not just about their personal next move, but the next 4 or 5 moves that they all have to make together, and how to coordinate those moves so that they win. If everybody gets to Fool's Landing, then somebody has to have that helicopter card so that they can get off of the island. The other option is losing. There are 4 possible ways to lose the game. If both temples, caves, palaces, and gardens tiles sink before you collect their respective treasures. If the Fool's Landing card sinks, so you can't let Fool's Landing sink and go underwater. If any player on the island tile that sinks and there's no place for them to go, they can't swim, they drown, the entire team loses. So you have to work together. And then if the water level reaches the skull and crossbones level, which is highest level, everything's just flooding too fast and you can't get out. So I'm going to invite you all to take this on out, and we'll let the next speaker come up, but I'm going to invite you all to come and play a round of the game with me. So would you like to do that? So, all right, wonderful. So again, why games? They're engaging, they're fun. They teach our students so many skills. Cooperation, communication, the communication that needs to go on. And you can see them talking to each other and looking, and they had to work together to even get the game set up. And they have to work together to plan and in order to be successful. And it's a very safe way for students to practice those skills, and it's just a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm Mary O'Grady Jones. This is my contact information. You can check out my website. I've got my email address, and you can also follow me on Twitter. So thank you very much. I've enjoyed being here, and thank you all for coming up here. So if you want to meet me over there, we'll continue with the game. Would you like that?